If I had one major criticism about the Thar, it would be that there's no proper place to secure your phone when you're driving off-road. Well, that problem is now sorted. And no, before you all get all serious, that's not what the big deal about this new Thar is. The big deal is the disappearance of the four-wheel drive transfer case. Yes, this is the all-new rear-wheel drive Thar, and that makes the cost of living with this Thar that much lesser than it used to be. How much lesser, you ask? Well, stick around to the end of this video to find out just that. But before I get into this video, don't forget to like this video and share it with like-minded enthusiasts. Subscribe to the Evo India channel and make sure you smash that bell icon to stay notified for all of our video drops. Alright, now before I tell you what this car is like to drive, what engine options it gets, how it handles, let's talk about what's new on the design front. On the outside, barring this Mahindra name lettering here, everywhere that you would expect a Mahindra logo, it now has the new Twin Peaks logo. Apart from that, you also don't see the 4x4 badging or the engine name badging on the side of the car. So you could essentially think of this as a debadged stealthy Thar. Now, also the blue lettering you see on the tires, that's not some newfangled color scheme for the tires that the manufacturer is now selling. It's just the chemicals that the OEMs use to keep the lettering safe during transit. So when you do get your Thar and you clean that off, white is the color you'll be expecting. So, Mandar, how far along are we? So now, once you step into the Thar, you have some changes on the inside as well. Minor changes, albeit a few. You're greeted by this new Twin Peaks logo on the steering wheel. And now if you look to the right, the control switches that control your MID and other functions now has a new button, and it's missing the ESP button. The new button is the auto start stop button. So this new rear wheel drive diesel Thar does get an idling auto start stop function, and the ESP switch is now here. So these aircraft style switches that the Thar came with has a slight tweak in design now, and you have your ESP switch here along with your hill descent control and your car unlock and all the other functions that you had otherwise. Cubby hole that I spoke about earlier. This cubby hole has been liberated by the lever for changing 4 high and 4 low settings. Now because you don't have a 4-wheel drive transfer case, you don't need that lever. Have a nice cubby hole here. That's about it for the changes on the design front inside and outside the Thar. Right, now enough talk about the way this car looks, let's talk about how it drives. So now if you were to get the rear wheel drive Thar, you have 2 engine options to choose from. One is the same 2-liter petrol that we're familiar with from the other Thars, the 150 bhp petrol. And if you get that, you have only the option of a 6-speed torque converter. And the one I'm driving is a diesel rear wheel drive. Now this isn't the same 2.2-liter turbo diesel, the M-Hawk engine that you get in the other Thars. Instead, this is a smaller 1.5-liter turbo diesel, and it is mated only to a 6-speed manual. Now this manual gearbox, the shifts are slick and tactile, and the clutch action is also fairly light. So you never really feel any jerks or any of those things when you're driving. The best part is, the gates of this gearbox are pretty close together. They're not bunched up so it's uncomfortable to shift, but they're not too far out that every time you make a shift, you're fondling your passenger's thigh or knee. And I'm glad that's the case. So there is that. Now, considering that this car is going to spend most of its life in the city or in the highways, I would have liked this diesel variant to get at least an option of automatic gearbox. But as it stands, the only automatic gearbox option that Mahindra has for this particular spec of diesel engine is an AMT that you get on the XUV. And an AMT on a Thar is not something I'm willing to digest just yet, so I'm pretty happy with this manual for the time being. Now, in terms of power, this 1.5-liter turbo diesel is good for 117 bhp and 300 Newton meters of torque. That makes this car pretty peppy, although it's not the sportiest thing out there. The low end and mid-range torque is pretty good. The engine is nice and tractable, and anything in the city, and this car is more than powerful enough. Now, this doesn't feel lethargic in the slightest, but in the same breath, I'm also going to say that the performance from this engine is definitely not going to wow you. Now you must be wondering why this 1.5-liter turbo diesel and not the full-bore 2.2-liter. That is because Mahindra wanted to make most use of the small car excise duty. What that means is, because this does fall in the 1.5 liter diesel engine bracket, and in terms of length of the car, it is sub 4 meters, it does come in the small car category. So what that means is, you're not paying more than 8% tax when you're buying this car. But if this didn't comply with the requirements of being sub 4 meter and under 1.5 liter, you'd end up paying 24% tax. So that is a win-win. Now, the primary reason everyone loves this new Thar is because of the way it looks and rides. It's brutish, it's menacing, and everyone gets out of your way. So you have a pretty hassle-free driving experience no matter where you are. And this new generation of Thar is a proper generational upgrade over the model it replaces. And take for example the ride quality. You're no longer holding back your last meal in with every imperfection of the road, because this does handle pretty close to a compact SUV or any other car. But at the same time, it has the go anywhere attitude of a proper 4x4. It does do away with the four-wheel drive transfer case and the differential on the front axle. But apart from that, your chassis setup is pretty identical to the other Thar. So you get the same tall ground clearance, you get the same long travel suspension, and that go anywhere attitude, it remains. So you can hammer through anything and everything, all while being completely settled and comfortable in your cabin. So that just makes this car that much more appealing and tempting to have, especially in our Indian driving conditions. So this Thar, it really does tick all those right boxes. Now, because you also don't have the four-wheel drive transfer case and all those things that go along with the four-wheel drive system, the car is also lighter than the four-wheel drive models. So what that means is it's a bit lighter in terms of its handling, and that will also translate to better fuel economy. And who doesn't want better fuel economy in these days of ridiculous fuel prices? And now for what you have been waiting for the most, the prices. Prices for the rear wheel drive Thar start at Rs 9.99 lakh ex-showroom for the EXO variant, while the LX manual costs Rs 10.99 lakh. The petrol rear-wheel drive Thar, on the other hand, owing to the fact that it doesn't meet small car excise duty regulations, is priced at Rs 13.49 lakh ex-showroom. To put that in perspective, the base diesel rear-wheel drive Thar, the EXO variant, it undercuts the equivalent four-wheel drive Thar, the manual diesel, by roughly 4.15 lakh, whereas the petrol rear-wheel drive automatic Thar undercuts its equivalent in the 4x4 guise by roughly 2.3 lakh rupees. So, in conclusion, this rear-wheel drive Thar then is an absolute no-brainer. Because there are many people who buy the Thar for the way it looks and for the convenience that it offers. But they're never really going that far off the road to need a complex 4x4 system. This then is for those people and for people who want a solid daily driver. Because you're not really paying extra for the 4x4 system, neither you're lugging the extra weight that comes along with it. What you're getting is a really solid and a capable car that can handle pretty much anything and everything that the city roads and the highway has to throw at it. And you're doing this all while looking extremely badass. Now this is what I think about the rear-wheel drive Thar, and I'm really keen to know what you think about it. So drop your thoughts in the comment section down below and let's have a conversation. And thank you for watching.